All right, teaching facility update. Got the roof decking all done. All the fascia boards are in. So what they're doing now is sealing around all of the doors and windows. They put a plastic roll-on sort of polymer membrane around all those openings to seal the wood, the concrete, everything, so you don't get any water penetration. If it does, weep past the outside seal. So roofing company is getting ready to start drying in the roof. They call it drying in when they actually make the building watertight, right? They put the underlayment on the plywood up there, so if it rains, no water gets inside. And then windows and all that stuff is coming. I'll show you the inside here in a second. So here's the front door. And this will be the little foyer when you walk in. Down there will probably be Louise's office, kind of a thing, with a desk and all that. It's kind of storage and everything. Store all the clubs and everything that you want to try, and that can all be in here. So 2 individual bays. There will be a wall in between the two from here to here. So when you walk in, this will be one studio, and then you come in, this will be the door for the other studio. These 2 floor pipes are for different hitting scenarios. So if we're gonna hit balls out to the driving range, we can plug the camera and all that stuff. All the technology can get plugged in there, and then your hitting station will be here, and the door will be up, and that's the view that you'll have, obviously minus the supports. The supports are there because this is one solid piece of poured concrete, and they need to leave that bottom support there while that concrete cures and really becomes super hard. So another week or 2 and these poles will come down, and then they can get ready to put the garage doors in. You can see over there, same thing by the front door. But when you have a poured tie beam like up there, you need to still support the bottom so that it stays perfectly flat, or else it'll sag just a little bit. So you can see they got all the plywood framed in around the garage doors. That's what the garage doors will bolt to. And we'll be good to go here pretty soon. There'll be out here, there's gonna be a concrete walkway going all the way around the building. Harley's inspecting. And then we'll resod all this and redo everything, some landscaping, and make it pretty again. But that's your teaching bay update. Place is pretty huge. Oh, so the second thing back here, if you're gonna hit balls and the door's gonna be down, your hitting stations will be back here, and the technology will plug in there, hitting mats, and then you can hit balls into the screen. There'll be a screen there that rolls down. Pretty awesome. Last week of the closure, big push right now is bunkers. So the guys are going through and we're scraping down a lot of the contaminated algae, heavy organics in the top, and checking bunker depths, and then bringing more material in and capping them off. So we're looking for a good 7 inches on the bottoms, and then we kind of keep that 7 inches going up the sides, and then it kind of thins out a little bit once it gets real high on the face. But bunker depth is real critical to make sure that these bunkers perform correctly. So that's our big push for this week. So you can kind of see right there, they're scraping off just a little bit of the material that is a little bit too much organics, kind of been contaminated, and we'll go through and clean all that out, and then come back in and start putting all the material back in. Bunker sand project update. You can see all of those little piles of sand in front. That's all the sand that we've been pulling out of the bunkers. Now the bigger pile in the back, that pile of white sand, that's fairway top dressing, but wanted to show you the color difference. So all of this stuff is all of the quote unquote the contaminated sand, and it's not really contaminated, it just has algae and all the grass and stuff that we've been doing all summer long. So we're scraping all that down, hauling it here, and then when we close in September for those couple of days, we'll go through and re-top dress all the tees and approaches with this leftover bunker sand. And the guys are going back through and slowly, one at a time, we're putting all of the bunker sand back into the greens, checking the depths, making sure that it has the appropriate depth. The performance of our bunkers is very predicated on having the accurate, the appropriate, the right depth of sand. So they stay too wet, that means you don't have enough sand in them, and that's kind of what's been happening all summer. So just remember, every day when we rake the sand, before we rake it, we blow it out, we clean off all the debris, and in doing so, we continually are taking sand out, and you don't hardly notice it, but a little bit over a long period of time equals lots and lots and lots of sand removal. So every summer, this will be a natural process that we do. We started in the second closure, and we continue to just go through until they're all done. And it should take about a month, because we're probably gonna do close to all the front 9 this week. And then once we open back up, it's gonna slow way down because we'll have to bounce in and out with golfers and stuff. But that's the big goal for this coming month of September, is get through all the bunkers. The left side of 16 green has been rough shaped by the contractor last week, and now we're starting to put the irrigation in. So the plan is get the irrigation in today, make sure everything's doing really well, and then tomorrow, Friday, come back in and regrade and everything. Sod is coming on Wednesday for all this, and then the plants to screen it off are coming Thursday, Friday next week. That's the plan. We'll see how everything goes, but we're moving right along. These guys are working really diligently, cleaning up all the edges. You can see they're doing a good job of just where it needs it, just doing a quick little sod job, getting it all tied in. You see here, they did this little piece last week. Did a really great job. There's another little piece. So wherever it's the gap of death, the grass is not coming back very well, they just go ahead and we're doing a little sod. And the golf course did really well after the aerification. It's healing in nicely. You can still see a little bit of verticutting lines, a little bit of aerification holes, but otherwise it's looking pretty sweet. And then the greens, because we aerified with such small holes, they healed over really nicely. You can still see a little bit here and there, but not too bad. You can see there's just a little bit right through there. And in some of these areas, we're struggling a little bit. A little bit of a thin spot right there. The dog days of summer are really piling on. So we just got to get through the next 45 to 60 days till the weather breaks a little bit. And then Mother Nature will turn towards our advantage and not the misery that everybody's living through right now. All right, Teaching Bay update. You can see they got the roof all dried in. Roofers are up there finishing up a little bit of sealing here and sealing there. That's what he's doing. He's just smearing some compound on some of the joints, like that black stuff, those black lines you see there. That's just a sealant that they smear across the joints. Make sure that 100% sealed up. So, looking good. Looks like rain's coming. Okay, I'm on 3 green, and I wanted to show you guys where you can kind of see right here. We've made a couple test passes. As expected, when we aerify the greens, now we're fertilizing them real heavy and we're trying to get growth and recovery, and that means a lot of grass and it tends to get a little puffy. And so what we did here, you can see a little bit, we set our machine that has what's called a groomer. It's a little vertical blade that spins this way a little. It's like a little blade like this, and it's spinning and it's trying to get that grass that's all laying this high to stand up, and then we can mow it off. So tomorrow we're going to go through and groom all the greens, but you can see a little bit right there. It's going to dig in a little bit into that grain, into that puffiness. But we need to do that in order to get the greens to start heading towards playability. Like you have all of this grain that's built into the greens now, and the way you get rid of that is you start verticutting. But you can kind of see here on the test patch all this extra grass that didn't get caught in the bucket. So we're going to take a whole bunch of grass off of these greens tomorrow. Like you can see that little patch right there. That's all that grain that I just stood up in an effort to start working towards playability. But you're gonna still see some of these curfew lines a little bit, and it's gonna take a little while for that stuff to go away. But overall, they're super green. They're coming back, they're healthy, but they're a little thin in a few spots. Like this area right here on 3 was big nematode problem. You can see it's got a little bit of thinness here and there, and that sort of thinness is what you're going to see on holes 10, 11. We call them our problem children now. So we're dealing with it. We've got some product to put out to help, but what we really need is the weather to break so that it's just not so stinking hot and miserable. Again, this is a warm season grass, not a hot season grass. The general rule is if it's great for you to come outside and play golf, it's excellent grass growing weather. If it's miserable for you to be outside and you're sweating to death, it's even worse for the grass, because every bit of energy that grass plant is making through the photosynthetic process, it expends trying to just survive. Whereas in like late October, November, when it's really nice for you to be outside, that grass is generating more energy than it needs to survive, and that's when you really get to see those white, thick roots develop and they just start dropping. Like when we were coming into spring and we were, what was it, like March, April, when we were cutting these cups, the roots we take the whole plug out in one, the roots were 8 or 9 inches deep. Like they were literally out the bottom of the cup cutter. And so as you come into the spring and fall, the roots really elongate because it's exceptionally beautiful weather out. And then through the winter time, the roots shrink because it's cold, and that's a photosynthetic process, which is a chemical process. And then when it's cold out, chemical reactions slow down, right? And then in the summertime, when the grass is just trying to survive because it is so hot, the roots shrink up. So our roots right now are about like that. In the spring and fall, they'll be like this. So it's a matter of seasonality and just trying to do everything that we can do to help counterbalance the negative effect of this time of year. Increase fertility, raise the height of cut, slow down on our growth regulators so that we can really try and generate a lot of plant material. But when we do that, then we got to do stuff like this where we go in and we verticut, and it's not super pretty, but the playability of this is way better than the playability of this. All right, so we're gonna open the golf course on Monday, Labor Day, and the golf course is in pretty good shape. The greens are showing a little bit of stress. The curfew did a good job of helping us curtail the nematode pressure that the greens are going through right now. But we still have a little bit of thin spots. Some of the suspects that we had problems with last year, a little bit on 7, a little bit on 10, a little bit on 11, a little bit in the middle back on 3. So the good news is those greens aren't necessarily struggling, they're recovering already. So we're going to keep the height of cuts up. You hear that lightning sirens. We're going to keep the height of cuts up a little bit on the greens and keep our fertility juiced up so we can continue to recover. The goal is to survive. Ooh, you hear that thunder? The goal is to survive with a lot of grass through September. Anybody that's down here right now knows how miserable it is to be outside. Your thumbnails start sweating just standing outside and you're not even moving. The fans on 6 and 15 have helped out tremendously to keep those environments, those microenvironments, conducive to grass. So now we just got to get through this oppressive heat and humidity that we're going to deal with in September and continue to get this golf course to improve and improve and improve. The Paspalum is outstanding. It's incredible. No fertility all summer, and I mean that's the driving range tee. It's just unbelievable. But the greens are a big priority right now, and the way we're going to be dealing with them again is a little bit higher height of cut, increased fertility, which means they're going to be a little bit slower. But the goal is come October and cruising into November, we're good to go, where we don't have to try and do a bunch of recovery. So that's your update. Hope everybody's having a wonderful summer and trying to stay cool as much as possible. Southwest Florida looks like it's about to get blasted with some rain here, so I'm going to head for the hills. See you, everybody.